Do you remember how in the last couple of lessons we set up all our links within our navigation area? And also we set up or created lots of different independent pages, and all these independent pages were blank, but we titled them so that they related to all our navigation links, and subsequently we placed all those files within their own folders. Now you'll be forgiven for thinking at the time, why on earth are we saving all these separate blank pages? There's nothing on them. Well, I've done that because of something that we are going to do within this lesson, i.e. we are going to save and rename all those separate files that we set up as blank pages over the last lesson or two. Now that might sound a little bit convoluted, so I'll walk you through the process of why I've done this, and how in reality it actually saves you some time. We had to set up all those blank pages, you'll remember, so that our links would work, i.e. our links within our menu had something to point at. Hence, Dreamweaver understood where all those links on our menu were supposed to take us to whenever we clicked on them. The process now is very simple. What we're going to do with our index page here, our home page, which has all those links set up, what we're going to do is we're going to save this repeatedly, but not as an index page. We are going to overwrite all those separate individual pages, those blank pages, that we set up over the last couple of lessons. So let's get started. I'll come up to File first of all, and then I'll roll down here and click on Save As. Now this doesn't matter which order you do it in, although I recommend doing it in alphabetical order, only because it makes it easier to follow. So with this resulting Save As dialog, I'll go to our top folder, Activities, and double click on it to open it. And then now, because we are saving this page as a Save As, then if I select the internal page here, this Activities page, and remember this is a blank page at the moment, all we've used it for is a reference page, so that our Activities link on our menu has something to point at. Well, if I select it now, that will mean my file name field updates to register this, and therefore all I need to do is come down here to the bottom right hand corner and click on Save. As a consequence of that, and because we've already got that file saved in the last lesson or so, then I will see this dialog, this warning dialog, informing me that the file I selected already exists. And would I like to overwrite this file? Well, I do. So I'll click on Yes, and then the next dialog box we see is one that we saw in the previous lesson, whereby we are asked, do we want to update our links? Well, you'll remember in the last lesson that didn't really matter because all those separate blank pages, those independent pages, well, they didn't contain any content. So it didn't really matter at that point whether we selected yes or no then. But because we do want all our links that we set up in the last lesson to be updated from this point on, then we simply need to click on yes. So I'll do that. And that's that one done. We now have a new Activities page, which of course is exactly the same at the moment as our home page. The only difference at this point is that we've now called it Activities. We've still got our existing index page. That hasn't been deleted. All we've done is we've created a duplicate of it and renamed it Activities. Now towards the end of this lesson, we're going to do something that does differentiate this page from the index page and indeed any other page. Anyway, for the moment, we don't need our Activities page open, so I'll click on its cross there to close it down. And now, because we automatically revert back to our index page, I'm going to go through exactly the same process for all the other different pages that we set up in the previous lesson. So once more, I'll come up to File, and then run down to Save As. And then now, in our resulting Save As dialog, I'll open up the next folder that relates to our menu, and it's this folder here, Contact. So I'll double click on it to open it. And within here, of course, we see our contact page, the existing contact page, which is blank, remember. So if I now select it, and then run down to Save, well, once more, I will see this dialog asking me if I'm sure. Well, I am, so I'll select Yes. And then I'll select Yes here again to update my links. And there we go, our contact page has now been updated to look exactly like our home page, I agree, but that's why I'm actually doing this, because I do want to retain pretty much all the structure of this index page, but for all our resulting new pages, for all the individual pages, we will place different content within the main areas. We'll do that as we progress. For the moment, I'll close our contact page down, so I'll click on its cross there. And then we'll move on. I'll come up to File again, and then down to Save As once more. I'll move across here and open up the next relevant folder, this history folder. I'll double click to open it. I'll select this internal history file and then hit save again. I'll click on yes here and then yes again to update our links. Consequently, as we would expect, our history page is here, so I'll close this by selecting the cross there and then move on again. I'll hit file and then down to save as again. I'll double click on our movies folder and then select movies HTML, hit save once more, and then I'll confirm these two dialog boxes. And there is our movies file. Once again, I'll close it down by clicking on its cross. And again, once again, going through the process, I'll come up to File, and once more down to Save As. I'll choose our Photos folder, and select our Photos file, and hit Save again. I'll click on Yes to these two dialog boxes, and then close our resulting Photos file down. OK, right, the last one now. I'll come up to File again, down to Save As. I'll open up my Shops folder, select my Shops HTML file, and then hit Save. And finally, I'll click on Yes twice to these two dialog boxes. Right, that's us all done. I'll just close that file down by clicking on its cross. Therefore, at this point, every single file that we've now got, that until the beginning of this lesson were all blank, well, now they're all duplicates of our index page, which means from this point we need to do something with them to differentiate them from each other. But at least by going through this method, our resulting website will take on a completely harmonious feel and look throughout every single page. And what I'll do now in this lesson to differentiate all our separate pages is, well, if I come up here to our title field, you'll see that this index page has the title Stockton Heath Village, which is what we set up in an earlier lesson. Well, my next step would be to open up all our individual pages, and within this title field, I'm going to add on the extra word that indicates what that actual page is. Now, as I've alluded to, our index page is fine with this title, so I'll come over to my Files panel, and I'll open up my Activities folder by clicking on that plus Reveal button, and then I'll double click on our Activities file to open it up, and then up here in our title field, I'll add in a hyphen, and I'll also add in Activities. And once I hit my Enter button, then that's accepted. And we know it's been accepted because we've now made a change to our page. And we can also see that if we come up to our Activities tab, we'll see now that activities.html has got that little asterisk just next to it to indicate that we need to save this page because we've made a change to it. So I'm going to do that. I'll run up to File and then I'll run down to Save. OK then, so that change has now been accepted. It's not much of a change at the moment, but there is a slight change in that our title field is now slightly different to our title field for our home page, our index page. Right, I'm going to go through all that process once more with all the other pages, so I'll close Activities down, and I'll come back over to my Files panel, and I'll open up my Contact folder, and double click on the Contact file to open that up, and then once more, by coming up to our title field, first I'll place a hyphen after our existing title and then type in Contact. And once I hit Enter, that's been accepted. Therefore I now need to save it, owing to this slight modification, so I'll come up to File and then run down to Save. OK then, so that is the process. Now I'm going to pause my screen recording while I do all the other files, i.e. our history file, our movies file, our photos file and our shops file. So rather than you watching me go through the exact same process over and over again, as I say, I'll pause for the moment, and once done, we'll come back. OK then, we're back. The magic of editing. All my files admittedly look exactly the same as our index page, but they do have a different title. And in fact, if I flick over to a browser so that we can see this, well, you will be able to see our title change to reflect the actual page that we are looking at. At the moment, we're looking at our home page. And if I roll over my Home button on the navigation, we can see in our field up here that we are looking at the Stockton Heath Village page, i.e. our main home page. However, if I move down to the second category, Shops, well, first of all, you'll notice right down here that once I do click on here, we'll see our structure path. And then, once I actually do select our Shops button, well, of course, the page looks exactly the same at the moment, but our title up here now reflects that we are indeed looking at a separate page, an independent page, our Shops page. And therefore, if I now quickly go through all our other categories, then you'll see in our title up there that alters to reflect whatever page I have clicked on here within our navigation. Okay then, so that's us done. We've now resaved all our pages, all our separate pages, so that they take on this universal look, ready to be adapted as we progress. And at the moment, our only difference, so that we can tell which page we are looking at, is within our title field. Right, I'm going to finish now then, so I'll see you in the next lesson.